Hi everyone, welcome back. Nicole here with Edge of Wild, and tonight I'm going to plant my tomato starts. It is May 26th. May 26th. So we had a frost warning, actually this last warning, but it only got down to 42. Thursday morning it was down to 33 and we had like a very light frost, but technically our last frost date is May 20th. It's going to be Memorial Weekend this weekend. That's usually a relatively safe time to put tomatoes in the ground around here. So I'm going to get mine started. I have, let's see, what did I start? I started Indigo Cherry, which I'm going to give all those to my friend because they're not my favorite cherry tomato. They're cool because they're a dark purple cherry tomato, but they're not my favorite. I am trying Sun Peach out this year. And then Super Sweet 100s, which are one of my favorites. The Sun Peach is supposed to be very similar in flavor, just less cracking, because I do have a lot of cracking problems with the Super Sweet 100s. But excited to get those in the ground, so those are my cherry tomatoes. And then for large tomatoes, I have Brandywine, Striped German, Nepal. What else? Valentina, which is an orange tomato and new to me this year, and Lemon Boy, which is a yellow tomato and new to me this year. I think I have one other one. I have Mountain Fresh, which is a determinate tomato. So there's two types of tomatoes. Actually, I think there's three really. So there's indeterminate, which is what everything else that I have besides the Mountain Fresh is. And those grow really big and really tall. They don't have a determined number of fruit that they're going to produce. And those are the ones that work really well if you're going to do any kind of pruning. And then the determinate tomatoes, they have a determined amount of fruit that they're going to produce. They usually stay a little bit smaller of a plant, and they're not really good ones to prune on because you're going to be giving up fruit on that plant. And then I believe there's a semi-determinate variety, which is roughly somewhere in the middle. So the Mountain Fresh is the only one that I'm not going to be pruning on. All of my starts this year are a lot leggier than I like, and it's largely because I did not pot them up a second time into a deeper cup. That would have helped them out a little bit more, not be quite so floppy, but I'm going to get them in the ground now. I did prune them up, so I took the lower branches that were down here and picked them off, kind of like, take one like that, and pick them off. That really helps keep the leaves from touching the ground, and I should be able to plant that whole stem because tomatoes, they turn their whole stem into a root system to take up nutrients. So I'm going to take advantage and just plant them really deep. The Mountain Fresh don't go as deep because they don't get as big, so they're not as big as starts. The Brandywines are also, for some reason for me, did not grow super tall or super strong. So we'll see how those do. That's my first year with that one as well. So I will gather my supplies, things that I need. Probably my trowel, because I'm going to be digging deeper than just the compost layer. And then a whole bunch of eggs. So I put an egg in every hole of the tomato when I plant it. I'm going to plant the tomato likely at a little bit of an angle so I can get more in the ground without having to go so deep. And even if you plant it at an angle like this, it eventually will grow itself up straight. So they're going to reach for the sun more than they're going to ramble when you put them at an angle. So it works fine. The egg goes in the hole because that is honestly, the shell breaks down and eventually becomes a source of calcium. That takes a while, like more than just your season that it grows. However, the egg, yolk, white, all that other good stuff in general, that is a really good source of nitrogen. So it helps give it like a shot of nitrogen to take off. I've had really good success with it. The biggest thing that I would recommend is make sure that you always kind of crack the egg. Like, you don't have to break it all the way open to put it in the hole, but make sure there's a crack in it so it is going to break down and not sit there and rot so that you find it next year or later this fall when you're pulling something out or I'm not saying it would happen. I'm just saying you don't really want it to happen. So if you can avoid it, avoid it. I'll get everything put together and meet you in the garden. Okay, here they are laid out in the garden. So they're in the same spot tomatoes were in, honestly, for the last like 2 years. But I actually think I have less tomato plants going in this year, so they're a little better spaced out. So we'll see if that helps with pruning. I do have one that's an experiment. This one sun peach cherry tomato. If you look right here on the stem, right here, it's like broken. My plan is if I plant it below that, I'm hoping roots will develop and it will take off anyways. So I'm gonna have to be very careful with that one. Otherwise they should all be good. My goal is to plant on the prevailing wind side of all of the trellises, so the west side. That side, over here on this side. And then on this one, on this side. So that hopefully they blow into the trellis, which should help with tying them all up. So let's get started digging holes. I bend down so my head's not cut off. I feel like this is my narrowest row between rows. I don't know if it's just like the trellis. There's less room. The good news is the soil is so soft. I actually really don't actually need the shovel. So I must say, after 3 years and like no tilling on this side and just adding layers of compost, the soil is really, really nice. I really enjoy how soft and workable it is. Working on the other side right now, where the soil is a lot less soft and nice to plant in. I'm always kind of like, I'm not sure I really want to plant. Like, I feel slightly discouraged. But then I get to work on the old side of the garden, and the soil's just so nice. And I'm like, no, this is awesome. I need to learn more on compost so that I can make greater and better soil more. Also, most of my gardening is done in the evening, so my husband installed lights in the garden because I have toddlers. Toddlers and gardening don't mix well together, at least not in like the vegetable garden. They're really good at helping like weed and edge the flower gardens, just not in here. Too much in my space. There will be a time that they can help if they want to. It is just not quite now. Okay, tomatoes are in. We're at the last little bit of light. So I will go through the order that I planted them in. Somewhat for you, mostly for me, so that maybe I remember. No promises. So let's take a look. Okay, so planted with the snapdragons, same side as the cherry tomatoes last year. I started with 5 sun peach. This 5th one being the one that was broken. I buried it very carefully. We will see if it has enough to make it. I did end up planting one of the indigos just because. And then I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think 5 super sweets. So if I decide I want one more, there's space in there. I could throw another one in. And then for the large tomatoes, I started at the end with 2 striped Germans, 2 of the Nepals. I did 3 of the Lemon Boys, 2 of the Valentine, and then the last 2 in the end here are the Mountain Fresh, just because they stay a little bit more compact and they're easier to walk by. So with that, tomatoes are in for the 2023 season. Fingers crossed they do well. Now to get them watered in. So as the sun sets here, like well beyond, it's 9 o'clock at night, so well beyond the hedgerow, I'm going to bid you farewell to the next video. I was going to take you along to plant the cucumbers and acorn squash and all that, but I need to get them in the ground tonight, and there's not going to be enough light to put it on video. So I'm thinking I'm going to do a garden tour. I did like 4.5 hours of planting today, so most of the flower seedlings that I've been saying need to get in the ground are finally in the ground. So at this point, I think I'll take you along for a tour and show you everything and show you setup and all of that good stuff. So I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next video.